let's make a pot of beans. When we were little, me and my sister, our job was to sort the beans. And to sort the beans, all that means is you're going to dump it out on the table, the counter, a tray, whatever. And you're just going to go through them, make sure there's no rocks or any like funky beans or anything that may look moldy or dirty. And that's it. So here is all my beans sorted. This is the little pile that I'm gonna throw out in the compost. Now, when making dry beans, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Actually, there's a lot of ways you can make beans. But for the basic bean recipe, I'm not gonna add any seasonings or anything to it. That way I can use it all week long for different recipes. So step one for the beans that I'm going to cook, I'm going to soak them. You don't have to soak them. You can put them on the stove with a lot of water and babysit them, and you can do it that way. You can also use your Instapot or your pressure cooker, and I've never done it that way. My mom makes her beans in the pressure cooker. I've known people who use the Instapot. Whatever, do it however you want to do it, however you want to try it. If you have one of those things and you want to try it, cool, go for it. There's also the crock pot. I will say I used to love making beans in my crock pot, but for whatever reason the last 10 years, I don't know if it's maybe my crock pot doesn't get hot enough, but I cannot cook beans in a crock pot to save my life. I don't know what it is. I don't know. So I'm going to, for me, what works for me, and you will try over trying different recipes of beans, you'll figure out what works for you. For me, I'm going to take these beans and I'm going to put them in a big bowl or maybe a pot. I don't know. We'll see what I have out. We've moved recently, so everything's kind of, where's everything? I'm going to take the beans and cover them with a lot of water. More water than I think I'm going to need, probably a few quarts more than what I think, because the beans will soak up all that liquid. So when I go to cook them tomorrow, they will cook less because they've already absorbed so much liquid. Let me show you what that looks like. The first thing we're going to do is we have our beans. This is a type of, it's basically like a pinto bean, but we find that they're a little bit bigger and a little bit creamier than a pinto bean. So we like to get these cranberry beans. I've seen them at Walmart. We saw these at the Cherry Valley Country Store when we were in Pennsylvania. We drove over there. They're in Ohio, actually. So we went over there and they had some, and I picked up a bag. And you can see they're very reasonable for a pound, and just barely over a pound. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to empty this out and go through the beans and sort them. Now, my recipe will be slightly different from if you're going to cook them like a fast cook. If you're going to fast cook, you're going to rinse these off real good and put them on the stove and start cooking immediately. I'm going to do a slow cook, which I'm going to pour 2 quarts or 8 cups of water over these beans and let them soak for minimum 6 hours, but preferably overnight. And then add water if you need it. If you see it starting to get low and the beans are kind of like sticking up throughout the water, or there's just barely enough water to cover them, add a few more cups of water and let it set some more. And here's what it looks like right now. They're going for a little spa treatment. We'll see what they look like later. This is what it looks like after 1 hour. And you can see the beans are starting to soak up this liquid. There is less liquid. The beans look like they've gotten larger, and they have. I'll keep you updated. I'm out on the back porch and it is now Sunday morning, just about 8 o'clock. I started these beans yesterday at 11 in the morning, so it's almost been 24 hours. Let me show you what these beans look like now. And here it is. Look how plump these are. They've lost a little bit of their color, and that's the color of the water now. And you can see like all this like stuff floating in the water. And ooh, squirrels. We're gonna drain this and rinse this really, really well, and I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Now that my beans are done soaking, they have been rinsed off and drained. Put them back on the stove, and we're going to cover them with about 3 inches of water. This is 1 quart, 2 quarts. Ooh. I think we need 1 more quart. All right, and 3 quarts. I'm also going to add in a little onion. Well, actually, it's probably like a medium-sized onion, and a couple of tablespoons of this crushed garlic. Those are optional. I just want to add a little bit of flavor, and it's going to work with everything I'm going to make this week anyway, so why not make it taste good first, and then I can season it less later. I put my lid on and I left it open just a little bit so some of the steam can escape and it won't boil over. And my heat's about a 5 right now, and we're just gonna let this go for a little while. Beans are one of those things that seems like it takes forever to make, but what's good about it is it's a lot of offhands cooking. You're not having to stand at the stove the whole time. You can kind of check on it and, you know, go clean the bathroom, come back, check on it, or, you know, go sweep or whatever, you know, go work on the computer for a little bit. I like that about it. And for as cheap as they are, you can make a huge batch, and you can keep them in the fridge for like a week. You can freeze them for probably up to 6 months. I like to do that. I normally buy 2 or 3 pounds and do them at once. But this time I only had a pound, so a little bit different this time, but that's all right. When you're doing the work like that, I like to work for my future self. My future self will thank me whenever I don't feel like cooking, but I have a pot of beans in the freezer, and I can make, you know, bean and potato burritos, or some kind of soup, or breakfast tacos, or whatever. So I hope that you're finding these recipes helpful. Once you once you get your beans going really good in the pot, they're like boiling pretty good, lower them down just a little bit. I forgot that I had mine on 5, came outside and sat here enjoying a cup of coffee, and hubby came in and grabbed me and was like, hey, something's going on the stove. So lower your heat a little bit before you walk away. Don't do like I did. So now I have it like between like a 1 and a 2 lid on, and I'll check it in like 20 minutes. It's been 45 minutes. I just took the lid off and stirred these up. They're starting to break down, so we're on the right track. These beans have been cooking for an hour and a half, and I wanted to take a little sample and see how they are coming along. You're supposed to do the 5 bean test when you're testing your beans. The 5 bean test is basically you want to eat 5 random beans from your beans that you're cooking to see if they're all done. Because sometimes you can pull one out and you're like, oh, it's not done, but the next one may be complete mush. So try 5, get the average, and see if it's done or how much longer you need. Bean number 1. Okay. I feel like the inside is done, but the outside is still a little too tight. So we're getting closer. I think after the next 30 minutes is up, it'll be ready. I also have not added any seasonings beside the onion and the garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of salt and a few grinds of black pepper. So it's been 2.5 hours and I have my beans on low now. So let's try them and see if they're done. All right, let's try them. Y'all, those are so good. They are creamy. Oh man. Okay, beans are done. So at this point, you can use your beans in any recipe that calls for beans. You can use it to make soup or bean burritos. You can mash it, you can refry it, you can do anything you want with them. I'm going to save some of mine. I'm going to freeze some of mine for future use. And the rest of them I'm going to use for this chopped challenge. Also, I wanted to say, whenever you're making these beans, if you want to just eat them as they are, you totally can. Like, you can literally just eat them out of the pot now that they're done. A lot of people like to put a ham hock or bacon or something like that, some kind of meat, in with their beans when they're cooking it. I typically don't do that. We were vegan for so long, and I don't know, it really doesn't need it. Beans are so good. Some cornbread with some fresh onions. Oh, delicious. But also, like, to make like charro beans by adding like chopped tomatoes and onion, more garlic, cilantro, lots of cilantro. You can turn it into like a taco soup by adding all these other ingredients and serving it with tortilla chips and cheese. This is a super versatile thing to know how to do. Once you know how to make beans, you can incorporate it into a million different recipes, and it is so much cheaper than buying canned beans. Cans of beans anymore are almost $2 or $3 a piece, and we bought that whole bag of beans for, I don't remember how much it was, $2.50-ish, and that's cups of beans plus the bean juice. Oh, the liquor. Oh, so good. Beans and greens. Your world just opened up now that you know how to cook beans.